Here we go. So today we're going to talk about the 10 things that make you rage at this game and 10 ways to basically avoid those things happening. It's 10 ways to make this game more enjoyable, and the game is set up in a lot of ways to be unenjoyable, and it's important to remember this is a video game and we shouldn't be stressing about it. And whether you're a YouTuber, a comp player, whether you're relatively new at the game or average at the game, we all have the same problems, just at different levels. So I'm going to show you how to navigate a lot of the stress in this game, and you will just have a much more enjoyable experience on the game afterwards. Before we get into all of that, guys, we hit 400 subs yesterday. Thank you so much for that. We've hit 300 out of those 400 subs in the last few weeks. We're getting some really good momentum here. So if you haven't subbed yet, please do. Keep supporting the channel and help us grow. We obviously dropped our first podcast on Sunday as well, which is really what I'm gearing up to be the future of this channel. It was the first ever podcast we did, and we've got the second one dropping on Sunday, and we have a huge guest already on the second episode. We have one of the biggest names in the 2K community coming on, and we've already lined another one up for the week after. So the next couple of weeks are going to be huge. Getting into today's video, I want to start with basically unlimited and limited, unlimited more so. I want to talk about the fact that you're not in control of every game. Now, it might feel like when you're playing a game that you are in control. You can lose games for a lot of reasons. I'm going to give you one example, okay? So I'm going to show you my record really quickly, which I'm going to talk about in the next point. But one of those 13 wins was against a guy who was absolutely horrendous at this game. Like, bad. Really bad. But he had a few things going for him in that game. He had a modded controller, which, I've already played 2 of this season. And he had algo on his side for the whole game. Now, if you don't know what algo is, go and watch the video on it. It's basically an algorithm that kicks in that makes your players play worse, the opponent's team players play better. You'll see things like bailouts. You feel like your players aren't moving properly. It's an algorithm that's built into the game to level out a game. So basically, the worst person I've played so far at 13-4, I did beat, fortunately, but by like 11 points. And it was like, I think he was ahead going into the 4th. He got 17 offensive rebounds in that game from shooting with a modded controller. Now, had I lost that game, would that have been on me? No. Either one of those things is enough for you to lose a game when you shouldn't have. So the only way to really stop raging about it is to understand what's happening. Because in the moment, you feel like it's just really terrible luck. You can feel like the world's crashing around you, especially if you're in Pink Diamond, Galaxy Opal. If it's early in the season, like if you're getting through the early tiers, it really doesn't matter. If I'd lost that game, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have changed nothing about my season projection. So understand algo, understand mod controllers, and obviously, squads make a difference as well. Someone might have spent $1,000 on their team, so they're going to have an edge on you. It's not something to get stressed about. Like, just be proud of what you're doing. If you know you should have played better than the game allowed you to, that's something you can be happy about, and it shouldn't stress you out. Algo needs to be removed from the game. I'm a big advocate for it, and I'm going to talk about it on the podcast this week. Algo needs to go. It's too stressful as a thing. If you don't know what it is, you don't know why it's happening, it can be completely soul destroying. So go check out that video and just get used to it. Now, the second thing is my win record. Now, as you can see, my win record is 76%. Now, could I tell you my win record from the first season? No. Could I tell you my win record from the second season? No. The third season, I can tell you because it ended 4 days ago. I ended on an 87% win ratio. I did get Iggy. Both of those things were quite fortunate. I had the best season I've ever had playing this game. And, I was very lucky to get Iggy because I basically went 12-0 once that season, and it just happened to be at that time. But the win record specifically is designed to stress you out. They put it into the game to stress you out. Now, it shouldn't stress you out because it's meaningless. It literally means nothing. The only thing that it means is if you want to show off to your friends that you've got a high win ratio. Now, I do that now and then. I'm guilty of it too. When I had an 87% win ratio last season, I wanted to tell people, but it just doesn't matter now. No one cares. Absolutely no one cares. And the key is 76%. Some people might think that's good. Some people might think that's bad. Either way, I finished on 87% last season. 2 weeks into the unlimited season, I was struggling at about 70%. And worse than that, this season, I won my last 5 games. So I was sitting at around 60%, just a couple of days ago. That's because it's the start of the season. As more people get the 12-0 reward, they'll jump off the game. The competition level will go down. And I'm confident my win ratio will be around 80%, which is, I think, where I roughly sit. So don't care about your win record. It just doesn't matter. It's completely meaningless. Now, staying on unlimited, make unlimited about playing the game. So this is the third thing. Make unlimited about playing the game, about having fun, about, you know, playing someone else and you know, battle of wits to see who can win. That's what the game needs to be about. It's not about just the reward. You can have success on unlimited without getting Kevin McHale this season. I don't think I'm going to get him. I didn't think I'd get Iggy last season either, and I'll continue to say that because I'm not at that level. So if I play the game not worrying about McHale, and I think last season not worrying about Iggy is probably the reason I got him, because I was chilled and I was just playing each game for the sake of playing that game. Like, I was literally loading into a video game to play the game, not to get a reward, which is this whole culture that 2K have built into the game now, where if you don't get the reward, everything else you do is meaningless. It's not meaningless. Like, I had moments last season that were bigger than me getting that Iggy. I uploaded videos where, you know, I was running a really low overall. I beat an absolute god squad. That moment was more important to me than getting Iggy. So you've got to define what success is. You know, if you had a 40% win ratio last season and you get a 50% win ratio this season, that's something you should feel really good about. It shouldn't be the whole season is defined by every loss that you take and the fact that it might adjust your win ratio and the fact that you might not get the reward at the end of it. There's more to this game than just those OP rewards. Yeah, absolutely, they're a badge of honor, but they're not everything. And no one's going to care a season later. Does anyone care if anyone got Paul Pierce? Does anyone care if anyone got Ewing at this stage? Does anyone even care right now if you got Iggy at this stage? That's the problem. If it's all about the reward, even if you get the reward, you're setting yourself up to be annoyed because the next season, no one cares and then you start the whole thing again. So just play it for fun. That's what it's supposed to be. Now, the next thing is the XP agenda board. So the fourth thing I'm going to talk about is XP. I made a huge mistake with this last season. I rushed it. I got weighed like a day after I think the first person did. It was a complete waste of time and I completely burnt myself out. So this is the way it works. Early in the season, it doesn't matter. Honestly, you can write off the whole first week. I recommend doing the dailies because they're pretty easy anyway. But in terms of these sort of XP rewards, they're not huge. You know, they're not massive rewards. And like I said, after I got weighed, and I wasn't, you know, spending money or doing any of that stuff. After I got weighed, they started dropping 1,000 XP challenges, 2,000 XP challenges, really simple things. And I just felt like such a fool at the end of it. So this is my plan, and I think this will help you as well. In the first week, I'm looking at doing 1,000 to 2,000 XP a day. Now, that might mean I do 4,000 XP in a day and then take the next day off it. So that's my goal. I want to average around that. So I'm already at 15,000. We're coming up to a week, so I'm not going to touch this tomorrow. Maybe I'll do the dailies. Then the next week, I'm going to look for around the same. And then I'm going to look for 3,000 XP a day, and then 4,000 XP, and then 5,000 XP. Because it's going to be the same amount of effort when it comes to doing it, because XP will be worth more in the future. So just take your time on it. Don't rush it. There's absolutely no reason to do that. Now, the next thing is waiting for prices to drop. So I picked up a couple of cards today to do some XP. I picked up Boogie. But these cards here, like, Boogie's a good card, right? IT, when he came out, I picked him up earlier today for about 50k or something. You know, it was only about 48 hours ago he was sitting at well over 100k. Just wait on these cards. There's no rush. I know there's a feeling like, oh, you know, I'm going to get behind if I don't do it. It's just not the case. Like I said, I got weighed. I had probably well over 2 weeks left in the season when I got weighed. I had plenty of time to knock out 60 points with Isaiah Thomas. Do it then. I mean, the longer you wait on those specific sets, the cheaper those cards will be. And you don't want to be burning MT or feeling like you're having to do that, having to burn MT. I mean, that's really soul destroying. You know, you work hard for your MT. You know, obviously, some of you might just basically buy it or rip packs. But either way, there's a cost to having it. And yeah, you just don't want to be burning that on just renting players out the auction house. There isn't a player that can't wait. You know, if you wait 4 weeks, that Isaiah Thomas's XP will still be there. So just wait on it. Don't feel like you have to be up to date and you know, ahead of schedule all the time. Now, the next thing is about the challenges themselves. So you don't have to do all of this, as I've said, in terms of players, but you also don't have to do the game mode challenges, right? I saw, probably 5 days before the end of last season, someone posted that they got weighed without ever going online. They'd never played online, so they did all the XP that was offline, and they got weighed. So you don't have to suffer through game modes. Like, I'm going to talk about, you know, Unlimited and stuff in some detail, but some people are afraid of playing Unlimited. You know, there's a real fear about loading into that game mode. They find it soul destroying. They don't play much online. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. I think equally, I think you've got to play a little bit offline. But if you want to focus on the online modes, then focus on the online modes. Like, even though I got weighed so quickly, I got the 20 win reward for Unlimited, but I never did his challenges. I just got it by proxy of playing Unlimited after the fact, after I got Wade. So I picked him up, but I didn't do the Unlimited XP. I did it by accident, really, but because I just carried on playing. So you don't have to play every mode. Like, do the modes that you're comfortable with, and then come back to the others if you don't enjoy them. Like, if it's a last resort, do it. But you don't. Again, you just don't have to be up to date all the time. You're putting yourself through things you don't want to do. Now, the next thing is spend time generating MT. Okay, so what I mean by that, you can see here I've got close to 800,000 MT. I've got a lot of players that I can sell. Look, the auction house is your friend. It's really, really tough to do any of this, XP, Unlimited, whatever, if you're struggling to build a squad. Like, I can buy players very comfortably and sell them back. Now, the other thing is going to come on a little bit later is like things like contracts and stuff like that. You need to be in a position where you could burn contracts if you need to and not down to the last sort of tiny bit of MT. So it's really important. I think you need to be sitting with at least 300,000 to 400,000 XP at all time, MT at all time. If you haven't done that, work on doing that. I've got videos and there's a lot of other people out there that do on how you can generate MT. But if you've got a good kind of base, sort of buffer of MT, then the whole game becomes easier. Whether it's having a competitive squad, whether it's being able to use contracts without worrying about it. There's so many layers to it. Whether it's renting players from the auction house, you can just do all of that. So just make sure you've got some MT. And if you're struggling now because you haven't got MT, take a day out from everything else that you're doing and go and generate MT. Play TT online, snipe some cards and flip them. New packs come out, it's a great time to do that. But there's videos on that stuff. But just make sure you've got enough MT to kind of make the whole experience easier and not feel like you're always sort of broke on the game. Now, the next thing is don't chase a God squad, right? So, I mean, we know there's some really expensive cards in this game. And if you're like playing this game to be the best person in the world at the game and you want to run the 13 best cards in the game, then fine. This video kind of isn't for you, really. But that is a fraction of people, like less than 1%. Significantly less than 1% of people that play this game. So if you feel like you have to pick up this DeMarcus Cousins, you don't. If you feel like you have to pick up that Paul George, you don't. There's so many overpowered sort of lower tiered cards. Just going into like the diamonds here. I reckon on the first page, Thurl Bailey is basically Giannis with a shot. He's a great card to pick up. He's 35k there. He's actually less than that. Rudy Fernandez is one of the best cards in the game. Don't feel like you have to constantly pick up the expensive cards, because that's all they are. They're just expensive. There's nothing saying they're the best cards in the game. And actually, some of these cards, even if the sort of really good ones, they're sort of unanimously considered good cards, still might not suit your playstyle. They still might not be a good card for you. I really made this mistake early on. When I started playing 2K20, I used to always make sure I had like some of the best players out at the time. I don't have any of those players. You can see none of these players are coming up as in my collection. I don't need them. I just don't need any of them. It's not important for me. And again, it's not... The problem is you just constantly have this sort of fear of missing out, right? Like this is what this is designed to do. If you pick up that DeMarcus Cousins for 200k, like I've got him, but I'm going to sell him back. I've just picked him up for the XP. If you pick him up for that and then they release a centre who's slightly better version of Boogie, you're just going to feel bad about it again, and you're going to lose MT because his price is going to crash and all of these things. My advice, honestly, just don't pick up any expensive cards. The most you should ever spend on a card is like 250k, and there needs to be a really good reason to do that, to stop that sort of fear of missing out. Now, the next thing is limited, and I'm gonna give credit to young Simba here because this is something I actually did, but he dropped it recently in a video. It's something I do, to be honest. With limited, and again, if you've got MT and you're not worried about contracts, it's never taken me more than an hour at a weekend. Actually, once it did, that's a lie. Once it did, but we're 20 odd weekends into the year now. It's rarely taken me more than an hour to get the ring, and there's a reason. If you haven't got overpowered cards, and again, you just don't need overpowered cards. If you go back to this weekend that just went, I think we were allowed a diamond and an amethyst, and I ran Zion and De'Aaron Fox, I think. If I ran into a team that just had just way better than mine, that looked like a sweat, I give each game about a minute. And if I feel like I'm going to lose that game, evidently, like the guys are good at the game, or I've had times in the past where I've run up against that Steph Curry and I don't have him and I'm struggling, and I'll give it a minute and I check out. If I feel like I'm going to lose that game, I quit. Sometimes, even if I'm not sure if I'm going to lose that game and I can't be bothered to play 20 minutes, I will still quit the game after a minute and load into a game where I can get a rage quit quickly. You don't need to sweat through limited ever. Ever, limited is not a mode you ever need to sweat through. So that was some really good advice. He kind of put it out there, and I thought I'd double down on that. You know, limited is a casual mode. It's not designed to make you sweat. So don't let it do that. Now, the final thing for me is to stay off social media. Stay away from any sort of negativity. Stay away from pressure from friends, from people on social media, from YouTubers. All of this stuff. This is the final thing. Just don't let anyone influence what you do on this game. A lot of the stress can come from kind of impressing people, right? You know, you see people posting 90% win records and you want to do the same. And you see people have got certain rewards and you want to do the same. Listen, do what you want to do in the game. It's a video game. It's just a video game like everything else. Like, I'm not posting online like how quickly I completed Red Dead Redemption because no one cares. The only person that matters to is me. Why do we do it with this game? It's only this game, right? Like, I played FIFA for years and people don't do that stuff. It's only in 2K where people feel the need to go online to look for that sort of approval. If you stop caring about that approval and stop caring about other people's opinions, if you want to overall glitch on Unlimited, if you only want to play offline, whatever it is you want to do, you do. That's your choice. The only way it can even matter to someone else is you give them the opportunity to do that. Now, there are two Facebook groups. There is the AllThatJaz Facebook group, which is like no toxic people allowed. It's a really good place to go. And if you post a 40% win record asking for help in there, you will get help. That's all you will get. You won't get snarky comments like delete the game and things like that. And then there's the grind as well, which is a similar vibe. They're sort of a non-toxic Facebook group. Like, just be careful where you go looking for kind of approval, because you'll be shocked how quickly people can influence you into playing this game a certain way. It's entirely up to you how you want to approach it. And if the only person whose opinion matters is you, then you can't go wrong. You know, it can't be unenjoyable. So that's it. That's everything. Those are 10 ways. There are 10 things that I do. I'm quite positive when I play this game. I'm quite positive about the game, and that's because I set myself up to be. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Guys, that podcast is dropping on Sunday. Please catch it. Like I said, it's a really big name. We're really, really excited about what's coming up. Until next time, thanks for watching, guys.